I'm proud of you, Joe. Monday night.
Um,
No, we had.
Mr. Williams.
Reserve all day with them.
Crazy, it's very different.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, they're coach.
Okay.
I'd like to call this meeting of the Ocean Highway and Port Authority, Nassau County together, a joint workshop with the Ocean Highway and Port Authority and Permian Beach City Commission for Wednesday, February 23rd, 2022 at 6 p.m. Please stand for the invocation to the pledge. We're going to do the invocation first. We always do that first.
Okay.
Heavenly Father, thank you for allowing us to come together this evening. We pray that you will guide and direct all that we do here today, and may it serve your purpose. Father, we ask that this meeting be acceptable to you and that it will benefit the people that we serve. We ask that you give us wisdom, strength, and courage. Wisdom to understand the issues that we face and how to solve them. Strength to make the right decisions. And courage to respectfully work together and do what is best for all the citizens of Nassau County. Father, help us to subdue our passions and let us meet together today in peace and harmony and leave here with a better understanding of the issues that we face and how we can solve them. All this we ask in the name of Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Have a roll call. Rosanna, you want to do the honors first?
Thank you. Commissioner Hill,
Here.
Commissioner Hannah,
Here.
Vice Chairman Cole,
Here.
Chairman Fullwood,
Present.
Commissioner Franklin is absent.
For the city of Fernandina Beach, Mayor Lednovich,
Here.
Vice Mayor Krieger, Commissioner Bean,
Here.
Commissioner Ross,
Here.
Commissioner Sturgis. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, on the agenda, We've got opening remarks. I'll make the first opening remarks. And first of all, I want to welcome all of you here. Thank you for deciding to meet with us tonight. I hope this will be the one of many in the future. I think it's important that we sit down together occasionally and try to work any situations out that we may have, any problems we may have. That's the only way you can get it done and come together and be better people and serve our citizens better. So thank you all, first of all, for being here. We're going to allow anyone to say anything tonight. Within reason. We have our attorneys here to keep us in line, so.
The fourth attorney is holding his head.
Yeah. Hanging his head down already, so. But let's keep it civil and try to make progress here tonight, and hopefully we can solve some of the issues that seem to be facing us. And I'll turn it over now to Mayor Lenovich for his opening.
Thank you, Chairman. And good evening, everyone. Thank you for having us. First of all, I'd like to thank OHPA for the support of the channel realignment. We greatly appreciate that. We have one more document, I believe, City Manager,
Yes.
that needs your signature.
Yes.
So please expect that, but we greatly appreciate that going forward. So as Chairman Fullwood and I have had a couple of conversations. And what we have are two distinct objectives. We have an objective of the city to maintain and protect our quality of life. That's our objective. I believe your objective is to have a prosperous, profitable port. Now, those two objectives are at odds with one another. And so I believe the task of these two boards is, how do you make that work? How do you move forward so that you can achieve both? And is that possible? Okay, is that possible? And I believe the other function of this meeting is, how do we rebuild trust? Because I think the trust between these two bodies is severely broken. I think it can be repaired, but I agree with Chairman Fullwood. It's going to take honest, open communication of how to move forward, how to put the past behind us, and how can we plan together to meet each of our objectives. And a realist would say, we're not going to do it in this one meeting. But I think we can come to an understanding of where we are right now, this time, this date. So I'm hoping we can have that conversation.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chair.
And hopefully we can bring out some tonight in the future or even tonight.
That's it.
That's what we're here for. The next topic on the agenda, discussions, and I'm going to let anyone from the city commission speak on any topic they'd like to, and just let me know who wants to talk and give you that permission.
I will turn it over to my commissioners.
Sure, I'll take the lead.
I knew you would.
So I had an email today about tractor trailer trucks going down a Scambia. Scambia is a dirt road that goes over a marsh that has pipes under it. It certainly can't take that kind of weight. I've got photographs.
How trucks, the port trucks?
Not too many tractor trailers wander down there for any other reason.
Yeah.
So I was wondering how we might address that.
That's not a road they're supposed to be
Because
using.
they're not supposed to be on there, we know.
Not supposed to be on there, and I think they
Well-
shouldn't know that, and whether they just got, it's somebody's first trip, maybe you got lost, I don't know. But
According to the people that live there, it's happening with some frequency. Now, and they sent me photographs, and yeah,
We have a sign that says port traffic down the one road. Now, if I can, the port has set up a email address for these such things. So whoever's sending you guys the photograph, maybe they can go directly to the port, so Chris can get on it right away. Because here's the thing, we're talking about it after the fact. So who knows who, what, where, when. Whereas if the person who saw it happen took a picture and sent it right to Chris right away, he could find out what truck that was and go right after that person. So they have a web, email address that they set up, you know, our community at worldwideterminals.com. We talked about it last meeting. So if you guys want to hand that, you know, give that out to the people just to send direct communication
So it's our community.
at worldwideterminals.com. And they police that, you know, they check that, you know, frequently,
But
just
with,
for
but
such.
with copy to OPA.
Yeah, absolutely.
I usually go down to the port 2 to 3 times a week just to ride by there and see what things look like. I may spend some extra time down there just park to see what comes through when I know there's a ship coming in and there's gonna be traffic. I'm gonna go down there more often and see if I can monitor that and see if I can find out what's going on. But that's the first I've heard of that.
Well, so I'll read you the email that I got today. It says, got the following from the data in Escambia, and it's happening more and more. There's a picture of a big truck coming down the road. Trucks using Escambia 3rd and 4th, and sometimes getting stuck or driving over the corners due to tight clearances and narrow roads. Yesterday, a truck broke down on Dade facing the wrong direction on the wrong side of the road for 3.5 hours while they changed a wheel or a brake system, forcing other trucks and cars around him. We are turning into a truck stop without facilities.
The picture that they sent, they didn't have any description of the truck, that you could see who it was from, who the carrier is.
Oh, they've got some nice pictures of it.
Okay. I'd like to share that information.
I know in the past, we discussed queuing trucks at a different location outside of the service district. And I think we should revisit that.
Absolutely, and I think maybe that's something we can get done eventually. That is something that the master plan people were going to take a look at. And because we've had to stop the master plan for now, and put a hold on it, but they're going to look into that situation and see if we can do some queuing off the port. And figure out a better way to get the trucks in so they won't be stacked up back there. And that's something we're gonna look into and hopefully.
With January being the busiest month we've had in 20 years.
Yeah.
It's becoming more of an emergency situation than something that's a long-term planning problem.
But let's all still remember, that is an industrial site. You know, trucks are gonna come in, trucks are gonna go out. We've just got to manage it a little better than what we're doing. I think it can be done. I know the port can't have someone sitting there talking to each driver or managing each truck that comes in down the road. But we've got to figure out a better system, a better way to do things, and see if we can get some understanding with these truck drivers how to handle things.
Let us also remember that Escambia Street is a third way.
Yeah.
And that 3rd, 4th, and 2nd streets, 3rd and 4th, at least, are all residential streets.
Yeah.
And trucks are supposed to stay on Dade,
Yeah.
and they often wander off for whatever reason.
The name of the company, Chairman, was Mercer. That's the name on the trail.
Say again?
Mercer. And the problem was it couldn't make the turn. It was so long,
Yeah.
it couldn't make that turn.
Up at the top of the standing or
Correct.
at the bottom? Yeah.
Yeah, could not, and so it had to go over the people's properties
Right.
to make the turns.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening on more than one occasion.
They shouldn't be there, period, anyway. That's good. But again, if we can get that email rolling, maybe we can get some policing on it, because again, it's kind of hard to talk about it later, because who said what's that? Tell that situation at that moment. Couple stiff, told you so might help.
What is the probability of putting a sign up at the end of Escambia and 8?
It's real good.
Good. No trucks allowed, absolutely no trucks
The
allowed.
police are looking.
Okay, good. Good. Well, we'll keep looking into that, so we get that.
Heavy fine levy.
Yeah.
Second one is there's, you're probably well aware, publication that comes out of the filing for the Sequel Vision Plan. And the latest one, 2020 to 2024, it says for the long-term capital investments of the port, you're gonna put in a 500,000 square foot warehouse and 1,000 foot extension of the pier. And I was wondering if you could work with the community and tell them what your intentions are. I mean, it's right here in the report.
I haven't seen that report, and that's surprising. I don't know where we put a 5,000 worth of.
500.
500, that's.
But it says, and 1,000, you're gonna extend the pier by 1,000 feet.
Yeah.
So, like, I guess my question is, I've been going, year by year, you go back and look at what's in this document every year. It makes no reality to what. Or, I go to most of these open meetings, and I never hear these things discussed. Somehow they make it into this report every year.
I'm not sure where they got that information, but I'll call them tomorrow and find out.
Yeah, we don't have control of what goes in there, though, either. They don't call them.
Actually, this is the part from the Port of Fernandina, and it comes from, because I've called them before years ago, and it comes from somebody at the port.
Okay, well, I'll give them a call tomorrow. Does they have a name on it? I know who to call.
It's a
Mike Rubin.
it's an 80-page, yeah, it's Mike.
Yeah.
Goodness. But the cruise ship gets buses, and the buses show up downtown, and apparently it creates a lot of, you get to places where buses can't go. So,
We actually took care of that with the last one. I don't know if you guys watched it. What came back, it was trolleys.
the last one was, this email was today. I think. From
Yeah.
Christina.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
originally,
February 23rd.
they had buses come in, and it just was a bad situation, so they actually worked with the trolley system for the return.
I'll just read you what it says. We have been working on this past, and it looks like we need to revisit it. We had a designated passenger unload spot on Ash Street for a motor coach parking lot D. Now the parking lot D is not being used. That's good construction. The use of a smaller trolley system in historic district is popular and well within the city's jurisdiction. Give us some time to put our arms around this first solution.
Yeah,
That was in the original email.
Yeah, I think
Here's the original one. I have a number of complaints to the Historic District Council about the full-size motor coaches that American Cruise Lines used on recent stop in Fernandina. The American ship had about 100 passengers, handful of buses circled repeatedly through the downtown and neighborhoods. Drivers struggled to find streets to accommodate the scale of buses.
I can guarantee you we're not using motor coaches anymore.
Yeah, we went right after that.
That's not a question. We'll use the trolley system. I think we've already contacted them and talked to them about it.
Absolutely.
Along your warehouses on the railroad tracks, you go by there, you will notice that there's all kinds of trash along the building.
I go by there often and I complain about that often.
Well, would it help?
Things that getting anything done.
Well, I think that's, I'm not sure that's on private property or right away there. But
What side of the road then?
Right between, it's on the other side of the railroad track.
On the other side,
Yeah, your side,
the west side,
the west.
Yeah.
No, the east side.
or the east side would be between the railroad tracks and the warehouse.
Yeah, that's where all the trash is. So how could we work to get rid of that trash? Because there's lots of it.
Well, we'll have to talk to the warehouse manager and make sure he understands that he needs to keep that cleaned up.
That's an issue that could just be considered done. We'll take care of it.
Really?
Yeah, we were trying to get that situated with the trash.
And Nicole, didn't you say that in the past, the commissioners did a trash pickup?
Yes, the road, Dave Street, when we put that sign, they put that sign up in what, 2009. And most commuters went down on that road at least once a month to clean it up. We walked it and cleaned it up, but we got away from it.
Can we bring that back?
You want to walk down there?
We could adopt that road again, through Keep Nassau Beautiful.
That's all beautiful would help us clean it.
Right, but, I'd
I'm
already.
talking about, you're not gonna have people, you know, walking on the railroad tracks and right.
No, I'm not talking about the railroad track, I'm talking about Dade Street, Dade Street. That's where the sign was. Yeah.
But I had talked with, Mr. Gucci about doing adopt a sign for Dade Street, and he was ready to do that, so we just haven't implemented it yet. But in the meantime, his crew, I understand, is policing that area.
Yeah.
So we just need to note the area or problem on the railroad trail.
I went by there one time and there was a lot of trash on top of where the warehouse is, on top of the walkway. West side of the warehouse. And it was pretty nasty. And I asked if it could straighten up. And it did for a while, and I think probably it's being brought up again. I'll make sure that happens.
And my last issue is that the city provides roads that city provides police services. You have an incident, all our police respond. You have a fire or a medical emergency, or EMS service and fire service. All agree that's true. That's true.
I don't know where you're going.
So I'm curious why the Port Commission has publicly stated the port has not received any benefit from the city from the time the port was built back in the 80s until today.
Who made that statement?
Your attorney,
Which one?
sitting right next.
If we're talking about the pending pilot payment litigation, we're not going to talk about that. Talk to Tammy about it, I've talked to my board about it, it's pending active litigation, and so we're not going to speak about it.
That's fine, but that's the statement that's in your.
We can't talk about that litigation because it's still in the courts.
It's not, I'm not attached, not saying it should, but I mean, I think that to say those kinds of things is not. So even in a lawsuit, does not build trust.
Understanding for discussion. But if you remember, Patrick, tell me if I need to stop. You need to stop. You got a word.
We're discussing.
Come on.
Hey, we're just discussing.
But I'm sure that any question is
You
going to be asked
remember
on the
we
political
sat down.
campaign trail.
We sat down and tried to come to some agreement in the past about the pilot payment. And we offered a suggestion and y'all turned it down, but I think there's still room there for negotiation, no matter how this goes. If it goes in your favor, fine. If it doesn't, then I'm willing to sit down and negotiate.
Well, there's room for negotiation. Why don't you make us another offer?
We'll do that after this is over.
We
Please
can't,
don't let it
right
go.
now, let's just stop right there and
Good
wait,
stopping point.
what, 2 weeks? 2 weeks, it'll all be over with hopefully, and
2 weeks,
that's when the next,
2 weeks.
hearing
No, we don't have another hearing. We filed an answer this past week.
Oh, this is gonna go on quite a while.
Okay, well, when it comes to an end, we'll see what we can do. That's all I can, that's as far as I can go. Before he gets into this gavel.
But I will say that Patrick and I are talking the preparation for tonight. We did discuss the pending lawsuit and what our next steps would be. Right now, as all of you, I think, know, it's just the initial pleadings have been filed. So we have agreed to talk in the next couple of weeks. So that will happen in the next couple of weeks to see if there is any place where we think between our sides, we might come to some agreement and get together again to discuss that.
What is the cost of the bidding so far?
Probably about 15,000. That's my guess.
That includes the mediation?
From the city's point of view, and more global, the city provides a lot of services to a lot of people. We provide services to people, recreation services, we provide the roads. 1.6 million people come across the bridge every year. Use our services. The city, quite honestly, doesn't have the money to support it. That's a big. And so, if we want to provide the services that the community demands, and you have a for-profit person working, your operator, and you're using our services for free. The people who come and use our beaches, use our parking for free, they use our pickleball courts for free. And when you have these discussions, we're not just picking on you guys, we pick on the county and PDC and so on. We did. But we're at a tipping point where we can no longer afford this. We're a little town of 13,000 souls, and we're asked to manage, take care of the island in a lot of ways. And there's many, many people coming here, using us. Your port is getting busier and busier, so there's more people coming, and that means more responsibilities for the city that nobody wants to do.
Let me ask you this, if something happened with the port, we call the rescue and does the port have to pay for it? So I call the rescue unit to my house, and they pick me up, they're gonna charge you. Yes, they are. Yeah.
They do, every patient
Right.
gets charged. Yes.
Whether you pay it or not.
So you asked if we, the port, would have to pay, unless one of you here is being transported, no.
Well,
it's
it's one
whoever-
of the employees.
one of their employees, then the employee is the one that gets the bill.
But is there a bill for fire?
No, not just for fire rescue.
Um,
I mean, just for fire. If there was a fire, no, they don't send out an invoice.
Yeah.
To anybody.
I understand.
And police doesn't send anyone.
No. I understand that and I agree with it, and that's why I say hopefully we can come to some understanding.
Which is why you said.
Yeah, well, you get a lot of my taxes already, so.
So what is the cost to us for this? I know some of the levels for you.
Right. I would say it's probably in excess of what, probably in excess of 20.
Well, in your time, doesn't.
No, my time's not
Right.
really.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you all commissioners for being, making the time for us to come see you guys tonight. We appreciate, it's a good show that we're together, and it's exciting
Yeah.
that we're trying to do this. So, I have one issue that's been brought up. It's been brought up in one of our chambers and one of our meetings before. It's also been brought up by several members of the community have messaged me about this independently as well. It's sometimes trucks that are en route to the port might leave some trash on the side of the road, or that they might fall out. And my ask is, there anything we can do to mitigate that? Maybe possibly make sure we have everybody tied down or anything like that we can do to stop trash from falling into the historic district.
Well,
Oh, that's what we were talking about last meeting, about the trash coming off the trucks, because they had some new shipments coming in from the new vendor. And Chris is actually, was looking into maybe the way the stickers are set up and the way the packaging is done, redoing. But again, that's where that email address was set up, so we can get, again, it's hard to talk about something after the fact, but if we can catch it as it's happening, because obviously people are seeing it, and we can give it to Chris with that email address, we can address it as it happens. So that, and we are trying to address that. Like I said, when we've talked to Chris at the last meeting had said, again, this new vendor with the way these labels were attached flew off. Nobody expected that to happen. But they're gonna work on, again, stapling them harder on there and gluing them down if they have to. But that's something we are trying to address with the vendors coming in. Because we don't want that either. And the same thing with the guys, I mean, with the truckers are just throwing trash out their doors. That's a huge issue. I mean, personally, that's a huge issue. So we are trying to work with that.
That certainly is the right path. So thank you for setting that email address up. We appreciate that. And yeah, certainly I had experience with another manufacturing site here on the island. And at that time, when we had that endless construction, there were trucks that were en route to that one manufacturing site that I'm associated with. And they were taking, to avoid the construction, they were taking the concourse. And that was not good. So it took the customer of the vendor to ask. And once that ask happened, everybody was happy, and then the trucks continued to go down the appropriate truck route. So it would take the customer to ask the vendor. So thank you as the customer to ask these vendors.
Like I said, we tried to address that last meeting with Chris.
I don't remember, was that material being loaded on the trucks that got out and the labels were in, or
Yeah.
it wasn't coming in?
It wasn't coming in, it was stuck in the line.
That means they had to be halfway down the A1A then also. It didn't just all blow off right there at the port. It had to be elsewhere too. So.
Well, it's because it's breakable, it's not containerized,
Right.
or it's not wrapped.
Correct.
Yeah.
It should be wrapped.
That would help, yeah. Maybe that's something we could look at.
That would help. So thank you again for taking a look at that.
Sure.
So if you get complaints, are you sending them to us or no?
Well, I'm writing them all down and I'm
Okay.
bottling them up and telling you about them now. So
Yeah,
that's
good.
You can also send them to the OHPA NC, OHPA NC at Gmail, but it is a legit address. And that goes to Rosanna, who the replacement will be.
OHPA.
It's Nassau County.
That's all.
okay. Sounds like North Carolina.
Yeah.
Use the address, but that way.
OHPNC.
Right away. If you get any like emails from ever, right away.
Yeah, and then you certainly, and I like both of those emails that you have, and
OHPA NC.
But
My phone
if
bill.
it goes to,
Email.
if it goes to
At
OHPA
Gmail,
NC, it's a public record.
Right.
And it's retained by us.
Yeah.
well, I mean,
And I
the
mean,
things gonna be are also
arguably,
public record,
arguably
so.
whatever goes to a public contractor would also be public record, but that's where it gets difficult to enforce and to track what the requests are.
Right.
So this is gonna require constant monitoring.
Yes.
Because as I stated earlier, whoever designed the city of Fort, as you said, Chairman, it is an industrial area, but the road access is not industrial, it's residential.
Right.
So if we were to just wipe the map off and design the port and access, we would do it totally different. But this is why we're having the problems. You're talking narrow, 2-lane residential roads. So it's going to continue, and
So we just got to do a better job before we.
Fully checked.
correct. So, thank you.
I don't know if you ever completely solve the situation. There's gonna be times when you're not gonna be able to, but we should do better. Yeah. All right. Court committee.
Nothing, I know we're trying, guys. I mean, I know there's traffic and there's a lot of issues with the trucks. We were at the last meeting, we were told about an accident that happened. I mean, things like this do happen, but we are trying to set up ways that it can be reported to us. My phone's open 24/7. I'm a contractor. I get calls at 3 o'clock in the morning from people. So my phones are always there. Leave me a message, text me, I'm available. I know Chris, they set up this email address and, you know, again, all we can do is we're trying to rectify the situations as they come, but we're not always like Danny had said. It's a hard situation, especially with trash and truck. You know, unless you're going up and down that street 30 times a day, you're just not going to see what's coming off. But if the people there are watching, and I'm sure they are, and if they start having an avenue to get at it, so we can get it right away, today's technology is a lot easier to get on things a lot quicker. So we can just together work together to get that situation, you know, get that handled and put it out there that these avenues are there for it. I think it'll actually alleviate a lot of the issues, because again, the Escambia thing, that's crazy. They shouldn't be on there. They know they shouldn't be on there. We need to know about it right away. So Chris can address it right away. We can address it right away. The trash, that's going to be an ongoing thing, like Mayor Legnitz was just talking about. Again, we're trying to police that and work towards getting that situated. We believe that, you know, you guys live in a city that you want to live in and enjoy. We don't want to dump on it. I don't want to dump on it. I don't want to, you know, I wouldn't want that in my house. And that's the last thing we want to do in like retrospect of the city. We don't want to perpetrate that situation. We're not out to do that and harm the city in any way. So we are definitely talking nonstop about trying to rectify some things. But it just takes time, and again, it takes an effort from everybody to work to get it done.
I'm all about systems, so if there are investments we can make that would track some of these issues, some of them would be in the city right away, and we've talked about that. You know, lighting, queuing, kind of monitoring when trucks are backed up, video surveillance, all those things were things we've discussed. We were concerned about public privacy. Public privacy is not really a thing, but the privacy of the neighborhood. Do people want to have cameras?
Sitting there facing their houses.
Right, so like those types of solutions, it doesn't rely on the good graces of any individual commissioner or of contractor, frankly, but would be a system that would be, you know, an objective system. I think they would work. But I wanted to ask about, I know Front Street, there's some parking and infrastructure projects that you all are engaging in for level rise. And then with the rail crossing on Front Street, it seems like every single event downtown, a train has come like right at the tree lighting. And I know back in before this or this current board and this current board, that the manager at CSX, I think, was coordinating with someone in the city.
That was coordinated with.
That would be something to come together on.
Good luck.
The railroad.
Dealing with the railroad.
Information had been made between the event organizers and the railroad, as they were told that they would reverse and they, so coordination was made and.
It didn't follow through.
Correct.
Yeah.
But those contacts and communication.
Well, if we were somehow part of that process, there would be more like follow, like if both boards are engaged because they are servicing the board, they're also servicing. Maybe that would help.
And I actually, it's a special event from your end, the city commission actually has no coordination Because those are technically not city events, but the TDC, we have the email records of how they coordinated with the railroad said, we're not going to the trains. They're going to- so coordination is happening.
Or they just ain't listening to it.
Correct.
And it's not CSX that we work with, it's the short line. That's in Wyoming.
Oh, for
Right. Yep.
So maybe, if you could include someone from OHPA or examine those emails just. Chris or whoever.
I'll have the TDC make sure that they, because again, the city doesn't do any of that coordination. That's all handled by the special events coordinator, whatever entity is handling the event.
I'm not sure if there's anything we can do about the trains that come through the port, go to West Rock.
Yeah, they're not,
And that would be part of the problem.
they're gonna run the room for them.
You get an annual fee from them, right?
But we pay them.
Okay, so, but there's
A large-
there's an exchange.
Oh,
Yeah, so is there an agreement?
yeah, we pay them a fee.
Is there like a franchise agreement? Or-
So, I'm for it.
I think there would be some type of agreement if there's an exchange of.
I'll ask you to check on that. Oh, well, I've never seen one that heard of one. Railroad has their own agenda.
They march
They
by
pretty much
their
do what they want to do. Everybody knows that. March to the beat of their own drum.
Maybe not if you contact.
Yeah, from tourist development.
Okay. I see.
Right.
We didn't really talk about the trust marketing project. We wanted to discuss that with the board.
You read that in, and we're.
Yeah, well-
We're worried about this end at the moment,
Yeah,
but when we get to that end, we'll call you.
Is
We can't do anything about that. We can-
Unless you want to spend money. Couple million would be nice. But thank you for offering.
We'll do one for you.
Yeah, we can do, got to do a bond.
You can do bond, or you gotta pay the bond.
No, we're not. Gotta be,
Thank you.
gotta be a revenue generating bond for you, so I don't know how you do that. Okay, I want to go back for a minute and talk about cruise ships. Do any of you have any problem with the cruise ships coming? I know there are some concerns among the city citizens as far as safety goes. But we've got all that worked out. The Coast Guard has no problem with it. I talked to them today. They're supposed to get us a letter from the U.S. Coast Guard that says they have no problem with safety and they monitor the safety. They monitor they're there when the cruise ship comes in and when passengers get off and when they get back on, and it's all done very safe. And I don't know what other issues you might have with the cruise ships.
You know, I think the major is to get them avoid
The bus.
Right, to point somewhere else. And that. Plays out there.
Now, we did have a waiver for this last cruise ship from West Rock, and we're working with them to get a waiver for the future. Don't have to go, but it would help if we get some support. If you would be in favor, because those cruise ships bring in people, and the people go downtown and spend money. And I know the merchants, I've talked to some of the merchants, and they love cruise ships when they come in. They like the money that they spend. They spend quite a bit. Usually there are only about 200, the maximum is 200 passengers, but they've never had that many of this. A few crew people that spend money. Trolleys go downtown, they live off and they spend money, they go on cruises, whatever they want to do. And at the end of the day, they come back to the cruise ship on the trolley, and they're escorted right back to the ship, and they don't go wandering around anywhere. They're not allowed to come back to the port alone. They have to stay on the trolleys to come back in. So what I'm gonna ask is that you would put a letter together in support of the cruise ship industry coming to Vernon. I think it's very beneficial to the community to do that. It's beneficial to the port.
You say the cruise ship industry, I started to get.
Not the big cruise ship.
It's just a little,
This will be the small
The small
cruise
guy.
lines that jump from port to port, let their passengers out and spend some money. Come back in. It's not 1,000 passenger cruise ship with 1,000 people going downtown at one time.
I worked on cruise ships.
This would be less than,
5,000 people to send out of the ship.
oh, I know.
Any more than one.
I'm never in fact, never have been in favor of that, and it would not work. We just wouldn't have the facility.
give them a facility for that.
But we need help to make sure that West Rock knows that it's a money-making deal, not only for the port, but for the citizens and for the business.
So is that a new line of business?
Not necessarily. This was something that just came up, an opportunity came up, and they said we're doing this up and down the coast, and we'd like to use Fernandina as a place to come into.
I think he's referring to the legal term of art and the operating agreement.
The what?
The legal term of art of additional revenues that are beyond cargo handling.
I understand what you're saying. That's something we'll be discussing with the operator. But, try to find something here real quick.
Before I'm one before anything, I'd like in writing exactly what you want for, what kind of restrictions there are on that and on how often. Particularly.
We can get that to you, absolutely.
Yeah, I would just build on that to say, I'd like to, I know there's, the TDC is considering financing some of the trolley. I'd like to see a defined route. I'd like to see a limit on the number of cruise ships. Because once again, what we're talking about is what are the capacity of residential roads?
Yeah.
Okay, it's not only the cruise ship, it's the trucks, it's the restaurant, delivery trucks, and you just keep adding on to this pile, okay? And at a certain point, it's going to collapse. And as Mr. Ross said, we are at a tipping point. I have asked the TDC, how many tourists, what's the capacity for tourism? How many tourists can the infrastructure of the island handle? I've yet to receive an answer. I've been asking that question 4 years.
I don't think they know.
I don't know. No, but we need to know so that we can say, all right, enough. So I would like to see some conditions.
But how would you limit people coming in from out of town to coming downtown and using restaurants and shops and?
Chairman, where there's a will, there's a way.
Well, good luck with that.
We would explore.
Yeah.
The OHPA charter says you can build a tow road.
Oh, yeah.
Whoa, let's not have anybody.
Never put my name on that.
So anyway, I'd like to see some conditions.
Oh, good. Well, in terms of economic benefit, Fernandina and the surrounding area, the Cruise Lines International Association recently released data compiled by Business Research and Economic Advisor determined the average daily spend per passenger at a port call was about $200. believe this is conservative, given the passengers tend to be affluent, experienced travelers, which means they spend a lot more.
Yeah.
Direct access to Fernandina Beach and its premier attractions are likely to increase the estimated spend per passenger. Additionally, the data showed each crew member spends an average of $50 a day. They selected the Port of Fernandina as its base port for a variety of reasons: sustainability of the port facilities, attractiveness of Fernandina Beach, and the surrounding area. In the itinerary fit the terms of distance,
So
and time and space available at larger ports.
when you say base port, one of the big ways that
No, they won't be.
They're not unloading.
Yeah. I'm not sure exactly where this headquarters, let's see.
The next question I want to point out, when we use that money, that it costs the city increasing services, whereas all these things. We don't get any money. We don't.
Well, your job is to make money for the businesses down there.
My job is
That's what these people would be doing.
I wouldn't disagree. My job is to support the infrastructure. We have a private operator making money off using city roads, city services, and we're not any company. Sales tax is going free coffers, all that, and it's good for the businesses, it's good for them, that's great. But the city itself is not getting any revenue. And that therein lies the rub. So you have a private individual, a private corporation making money on your port operator, and the city supports it with services. And once again, the city's not getting any revenue. That's the problem that we not only have. We have a lot of.
Well, you're again getting back into territory we can't touch on right now. I understand that, I understand where you're coming from, but, you know, the city benefit from Bartle's game, does the city benefit from all these other activities that you have downtown? Did you get any money for that? No. But it provides businesses down there with a lot of money.
That's true, and we support it. But I'm pointing out.
Yes, I understand. I understand completely what you're saying, and that's something we can work at. Guarantee you we can work at it. But we'll put together something that I can ask you.
I have one question before we
Yes,
start
sir.
this out. It's, my question is the relationship to West Rock regarding this deal. So I was wondering if you could tell me, and I know that the deal specifically says with West Rock that you have, says no cruise ships. I was wondering if you guys could tell me in your own words, what was the intent of that in the deal? And why was that included with West Rock? I just want to know, what are we guys? What's the
They
answer?
did not want us to become a port of call terminal.
A terminal.
A terminal. They did not want us to set up a terminal.
So all the cars come in, park and leave.
You know, a cruise ship with less than 200 passengers is not a terminal cruise port. Terminal in a cruise port would be big ships coming in with 1,000 people on them, parking at the port. And, you know,
Getting on and go.
it's just not safe, and Coast Guard wouldn't do it. So,
This all comes from when the port was originally built. Reverter clause. Reverter clause had a number of conditions on it that you used it for X. One of the things in there was just limited. Then we have the right to buy back the land we sold to $100,000 plus. And if people. So yeah, what was the intent? You have to go back to the 1980s and ask those people. Now you interpret that. People. I put that on that way. That's up to
Yeah.
you.
Well, I wanted to hear their interpretation, which I did, so thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, and I talked to their attorney today, as a matter of fact. And he told me exactly that. He understands that's not what we're doing, with small ships, with less than 200 people, providing money for the city and the businesses. Right now, with this last ship, they didn't have a problem with, so they gave us a waiver. So we're hoping we can negotiate with them in the future for a permanent waiver or some other.
If they have no problem, why didn't you?
Well, for future waivers, because we have to sit down and talk to them about future. There are some people that are complaining about cruise ships today. Believe it or not. Some of the citizens in Fernandina that live in that area, for some reason, they've called in and complained about the cruise ships. So they have to have the knowledge that the city will benefit and the citizens are okay with having cruise ships come. That's the main thing. That's the goal we're trying to reach. And with support, we've got this, going to have the support of the Chamber of Commerce. They said they would get on board with this. The Coast Guard's okay with it. And we're asking the city to get on board with us. Now, this is open. This is not the operator. This is open to get on board with. So.
Did we actually get a letter from the chamber?
Not yet. I called her today to ask about that, and she was in a meeting, got called me back yet.
So, from the city's viewpoint, Caroline, would you make a note, letter of support for cruise ships on a city commission workshop for discussion? And that way we can hear from the residents that have concerns, or residents that support.
That's a great idea, because then we could, I mean, not for nothing, we can get their opinions and what their issues are.
Absolutely, and you're welcome to attend that workshop.
Absolutely.
And hear it firsthand.
Yes, absolutely.
100%. Works for me. Great idea.
Yeah, all right, anything else to come before with me?
I have one question.
Yes, sir.
So I would, through the lens of residents of the city, you're engaged in a master plan. And, the fear that kind of went through the city on the grant application. And so if you could enlighten us or give us the latest on what your thoughts on the master plan are, and given our interlocal agreement, how the master plan will increase business without expanding the footprint.
I wish I had one of them here to talk about that. Yes, actually, I do, but I'm not. I've been to discuss at our next meeting. But, that's what they're trying to find out. That's what they're exploring. And they're doing that by talking to the citizens. This master plan, that's the one thing I said.
Yeah, we have workshops.
Make sure that you talk to the citizens, talk to the businesses, and talk to all the people, the stakeholders. And we've got a stakeholders committee or list that they're going to be talking to. They've already talked to some of the people in the city. They've talked to the city manager, I believe the city attorney. So David out here met with them and met with the Nassau County Economic Development Board. So that's what we're trying to discover, is how we can use that master plan to develop what we want to do in the future and how it will help not only us, but the county, the whole
What's your
county.
timeline on that, Sharon? When are you trying to have the master plan complete?
We don't really have a timeline right now. We're trying to figure out this coronavirus funds that we've gotten from the government. You may have this dealing with the federal government. You don't know what you're allowed to spend it on. We've been trying to find that out for a couple of months now. But we're working on that, and hopefully we can get that worked out and we use that money to pay for the master plan and get it going back.
So piggybacking on what you said, Mayor said. I suspect I know what the port operators going on is as possible.
Yeah, that's
I
the goal.
get that.
Sure.
But what is the goal of the Ocean Highway Port Authority? Because you have a limited amount of space. The more business that you bring in, the more trucks that you bring in, the more ships you bring in, the more congestion you bring in. It's like Earth. Or at some point there's a tipping point. So has the board ever thought about what's the maximum capacity? What's their where we want to be, and we're not going to go over that. That's that issue. It just popped into my mind listening to the mayor. I mean,
That's what they're gonna figure out for us.
Yeah, that's what they're supposed to be.
That's their job. If you read the details of the master plan and what we asked them to do, that's part of it. But remember that the master plan and OHPA is not just concerned with the Port of Fernandina. We have jurisdiction in the whole county. We have the west side of the county. Crawford Diamond is just looking for infrastructure out there. And that's something we hope to be involved in. And that's where we're gonna make for OHPA some of our money from in the future.
But with the port, again, if you guys have looked at the master plan, what we were talking about, they were looking into truck traffic, what the limits need to be or where they need to be at. They also were looking into the barge service and how to go forward with that and get that rolling so there was less truck traffic. You've been at the meeting, Mr. Ross, you've seen what we've discussed. We've also discussed the trains and, you know, the situation with them coming in and out. That master plan was supposed to help us build a guideline to be more in conjunction, you know, more in tune with the city, but allow the port to operate at a sizable profit. There, again, they were there to help us build in the port as well as outside of the port. Right now, again, they got kicked in the butt because of what happened with the financing. But we keep trying to do things so we can be in tune or in sync with the port, with the city. But these are the things, none of this is ever discussed or talked about elsewhere, other than the meetings. Everything is negative and how the port's going against this or going against that or trying to do this and want to do that. But we are trying to take steps to help out and work more in tune with the city. Now, whether or not you guys want to see that, but we truly are. We're not trying to dump on you guys. We're not trying to dump on the city in any way. But again, like you said, Mr. Ross, the port operator wants to profitize the business, so to speak, as much as he can. We understand there's limits and all that. That's why we brought them in to help us. Again, we're trying to work towards it and get it done and get it situated. And as far as timeline is concerned, right now we don't know, our hands are not. But again, we try to take these steps and nobody talks about the steps we're trying to take. All the negativity about what's going on there, but every time we try to take little steps to move forward, nothing's discussed. And
So will they do a traffic study?
Absolutely. That was one of the big things they were talking about.
We just had a traffic study done not too long ago.
Yeah.
I hope you've seen that. And I can't remember how long in the past it was. It had to be at least 3 years. At least 3 years. And going into the future with what they figure out we can do, a traffic study has to go along with it. We have to do one.
Now, and please understand that traffic is a citywide problem.
Yeah.
I take the back route on Gum to City Hall all the time. And it is, and Bradley, it is not uncommon for me to see trucks queue going into, all the way down Gum, all the way to the traffic light,
Going to Rainier.
going to Rainier.
Yeah.
They're just sitting.
Sit in there.
That's not a healthy situation.
No.
Okay.
And we don't want to contribute to that. We get it. Like I said, we're trying, but it takes steps. And every time we try to move forward with something,
Our state reached out to get on the agenda of the city.
I'm sorry.
As far as we reached out to get on the agenda of the city.
I don't think so. They're talking individually to.
So we do have the agreement under 5.6, individual meetings and presentations of local governments, boards, police, and ongoing coordination. So they're doing it one-on-one. But if you all haven't been contacted.
Well, they're not doing anything right now.
Yeah.
Well, because.
That was coming.
Figure
Try
out.
to fund it.
That was coming up. So,
So our current contract is this one looking at ends in 2022.
Right, but what we've done is we've asked them based on the situation with the ARPA funds to pause their work.
So it extends,
Yes.
we will enter a new one.
We're likely going to have to reissue an RFP that complies with federal procurement guidelines if we want to use it. My office is doing is drafting that updated RFP and likely an updated contract template that will comply with federal procurement, so that when we get audited in 2 years, as we've been promised that we will, with the ARPA funds, we can pass the review.
So how long is the federal procurement process? That
I don't know, we're working on it. We're actively working on it, working on it. I know it's urgent.
that's why we have a stakeholders list to determine how many people that live in the city government, the county government, and all across the county. That's just the right thing to do.
Since we're rebidding that contract, if you have a different form of engagement that you would prefer.
Yeah, well, I think contacting the city. Commissioner would be helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm just curious, I mean, the answer to the question, or the OHPA, how philosophically, where do you think, how busy can that board be? Never had that, never heard that.
That's the point. We don't
know.
So they did the study, figure out how many trucks can go in a day without disrupting the whole city.
Yeah.
That's their job. That's what we're paying them to figure out for us. So I can't give you a number. You can't sit here and say, well, only 100 trucks a day can go in without disrupting.
Well, I would counter that a lot of people that always think what's going in there, I think they're probably their lifestyle.
If I
So,
lived on that road, I probably did the same thing. Or it's been there a lot longer than the people that live in it.
not been a lot longer than some of us.
Yes.
Here, would you say?
I can remember when the port wasn't even built. First, I believe that I put that in page myself.
I'll just point out that there's about 25 boxes of documents about the port. And when the construction, I did go through it twice. And it was a great deal of controversy about building that port there. And there were great many people who didn't want it.
I understand. I've lived around that. I understand.
When we were finalizing that agreement, we did redline OHPA's goals, not just the Fort Columbia, but the whole county.
Right.
And then we also included optimizing the fort within its footprint components. Which was not in the original.
This was not a port operator master plan. This was an OHPA master plan that included the entire county. And that's what it's going to be.
And traffic and truck queuing is also something.
Just be patient. We're getting to it.
We're trying.
When we get back started again, we'll have more meetings and we'll have places that they'll set up graphics and be able to show people what. There's a lot of negativity in the press about OHPA, and that's the problem. Is only people that are dissatisfied or don't know what they're talking about put articles in the paper, never anything positive. Nobody ever writes positive stuff about it. I did one time. I haven't done it since, and I'm probably going to be doing it soon because there was an article today that was completely false, not completely, 90% of it was false information. And I think we all know that Coleman Langshaw has no clue about the port, and he's the one that wrote the article, and it's a long article. And he basically called every port commissioner on this board, but Commissioner Hill was lying. And I take offense to that. Let's say something to him about it, probably. But that's something we just can't have. You know, we're doing our best here to try and make everybody happy, try to earn money for the port, and not only for the port, but for the county.
When this is available?
In today's paper. You should read it, because it called out all the commissioners except you. I don't know what kind of relationship you have with him, but I know you know it.
So in this paper,
Yes, sir.
this,
You need to read it because it's a good one. And he has no clue what he's talking about. Making statements in there that's just not true. And that's been in the last couple of papers, actually. There's another letter you got it for last week about something that's not true. They just don't understand. They won't bother to call us and talk to us about it to get the correct information. They just write things they hear. You know how it is. They do that in the city all the time. And the county. Nobody's immune to it, so. That's just something we've got to get settled, and the only way to do it is have a better relationship with the city and citizens. Okay, I'm gonna move on to any final remarks from the city. If anybody wants to make any final remarks, Mayor, you'd like to do that?
Well, I started this meeting with how to rebuild trust. And I think that's still the question. Because my greatest fear is that we will walk out of this room and we won't meet for another year.
That's not gonna happen.
Okay. So one question I would have is how often do these two boards need to come together and talk over issues?
You tell us when you wanna have the next meeting at your place.
Yeah.
And we'll be there.
So
Like
I have two other commissioners.
a quarterly kind of thing would be a pretty
I'd
good
like to do
idea.
it quarterly at least,
Yeah, we talked about that.
or even sooner.
You know, quarterly, I think might be a little too frequent. I'm okay not meeting quarterly. We could do it, I mean, I would go to twice a year, is what I would think.
let's split the baby 3 times a year.
It's up to the mayor though.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've discussed that.
I'd like to wait till the next one, until we get the master plan started again. So we'll talk about that a little further and see where we are with that. So yes, absolutely.
So if we did it 3 times a year, that would be our next meeting would be in June.
Mhm.
And we could substitute a workshop for a joint meeting.
So that means it's less than an hour.
Be an hour, be an hour meeting. Does that sound, how does that sound?
Sounds good.
Sounds
to
good
me.
to me,
Okay.
absolutely,
You just let us know the date and time, and we'll be there.
yeah.
Okay,
100%.
Yeah, when I first started on this board, our meetings, the meetings were 30 minutes. It's gotten a little more complicated since then. Sometimes it's about an hour, sometimes it's 2 hours. But we deal with the whole county too.
Yeah, we discussed
Anybody
that.
else?
I think that.
So there seems to be some people who think that I'm opposed to the court and I want the court to go away and that's not true. And the same thing about the bills. But we all are a community and we need to get along. And so we have good places to go. And I realize the court is not going to go away. Particularly not going to go away as long as West Rock is there.
Yeah.
West Rock is not going away.
One of our big
So
markets.
we need to make an effort so that we can all live, and all of us live in the city, and none of these go. And you live. So we need to make it so it's a environment where there's a good quality of life for the people who live there, but people can make a living do this. And I am committed to doing that.
We appreciate that. What else?
I think we need to end with a thank you. We appreciate again, you being willing to be with us and us coming together. I think we did get a lot done today. A lot of good discussion was had, and I'm looking forward to following up. You, thank you.
All right, from the board, I'll throw it out. You know, like anything, this is something we needed to do for a long time. We had a workshop several years ago, but it's been too long since then. We need to keep doing this. Keep communicating. That's the key. Communication is the key to building good relationships. I've been married 50 years. I know all about communicating. You don't communicate, you don't stay married that long, believe me. And I've said this often. This is my home. I was born here, born and raised here, taught school here for 30 years. Taught this young man right here. And a lot of other people in his family, and a lot of people I've taught, thousands. And I love this. It means a lot to me, and that's the reason I want to serve on this board, to try to make this relationship better. And that was one of my goals when I ran the last time. I said that one of my goals was to make the relationship between the city and the board much better. It's been a struggle. You know, it's been a struggle. We've got some issues we've still got to solve, but I think it can be done. I'm confident it can be done. But we've got to sit down at times and work together and do what we can and communicate. And that's the big thing. And thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate it. It's been a good meeting. We've gotten a lot talked about. And hopefully we can solve some of these problems we talked about. And we're certainly going to work on it. I know that the board here is committed to it. So we'll go on from there. Anybody else?
I'm with that 100%. I think if the more we meet and the more we discuss, we can work more towards the goals and keep both sides happy and have a profitable port for the operator, but have a great quality of life for you guys. As we were saying earlier, there is a medium in the middle. We need to meet there. I feel, I've been on it now, my third year. It just seems like we get dumped on 24/7. It's like, I don't understand why. We're trying to try. The bashing is bananas, but I'm all for us meeting. I've been saying it for a while now. We need to do more of this. So that the next meeting in June, and you guys gave us some goals, and we put it out there that we're trying to work on these goals even before you guys brought them in tonight. Discuss them. You'll see by June we're chipping away. We're going to keep chipping away at this, guys. We don't want to take away the quality of life in the city in any way. I go to the city all the time. I love it. I moved here for a reason. I come from Philadelphia to be in this hometown because I love everything about it. I don't want to dump on it anyway. You guys need to understand. None of us here on this board want to dump on you guys. We want the city.
I just want to thank all for coming and for the members of the public that came, Tammy Kosak and Williams and of course, it's good to see so many people coming out. I think this might be like our second best turnout ever. I attribute that to having a nice, meeting in the city, but I hope that we can have a better dialogue and working together to have a better economic mix, a balanced community where the next generation could stay here and afford to get a job and raise a family. And I think that that's what OHPA could bring to the table.
I was thanking y'all for coming out, and I really appreciate it. And I may not live in the city, but I live in this county, and this county is where my grandchildren are. And I want it to be the best that it is. And I feel like that we met a lot of goals and objectives these last 3 years that I've served on the board. And I'm confident that we will make more.
Okay. Anyone else? Hearing none, this meeting is adjourned.